Oops.
That's on.
I actually do.
Oh, that's
I do
fine.
have a. I have to hop at 12:30, so if there is a Jemin shows up
Oh,
late.
dang. There's only 30
Yeah,
minutes.
I only got you 30
You only
minutes
got 30
this
minutes?
week. Hell, sometimes some of us have to run a business.
This is
We're
work.
not out here being the sweetest medtech hype woman and just doing box openings of cool products.
Did you see my cool one this week for the butterfly?
Yeah, I
BBM?
commented on it because I my senior design project was like a BBM like attachment that had like a metronome and a volume gauge to make sure like to help train EMTs to not overpump, which is actually like you get gastritis,
Barotrauma?
something like that, where you start pumping.
Oh, and gastritis. Yeah, you like barf into your
Yeah,
lungs.
and you start pumping air into your stomach cavity instead of into your lungs, which is also bad, and can extend hospital stays and stuff like that. So it was cool. I was like, hey, I am oddly like well versed in this thing, which I, usually I'm like, oh cool, Allison's opening up something I have no connection to whatsoever. This will be interesting. So,
It's a very cool device.
yeah.
I think I'll just like keep it in my car just in case, I ever need to resuscitate someone.
That the bottle of Narcan or the thing of Narcan, let's get and some flares for the road. Just
Actually, there is like a way you can get Narcan for free.
Yeah.
Like you have to like write in why you might need it. So hey, Jemin,
Hey, how's it going?
you know, got Michael Nilo typing away like a machine gun over there. I don't know why it picks up your keyboard so strongly.
must have.
I will say, Jemin is calling from inside the building today. He is here in San Diego, and I was going to, the reason I was like, oh, Jemin, it'd be so great to have you as a guest, because you're here and we could be on the camera at the same time, and just didn't work out, because I was like, I'm too stupid to figure out how to, do a recording on the same computer at the same time.
We've got 2 more weeks to potentially work this out because I'll be in Southern California for LSI, and we talked about it.
Nice.
If we can't, then you
We
can
need
stay
a
at your house.
recording studio or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
recording studio can just be a closet. That's usually what they are.
There you
LSI
go.
should give us, we should get a little conference room or something.
We should talk to Etienne. He knows how to do all that kind of stuff, and he'll
does,
be
yeah.
there.
That guy is like the legendary podcast
Yeah.
guy.
So,
Jemin, it's so nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I, because I'm terrible at introductions, I ask the folks to introduce themselves. What are you doing now, since you've moved on from FDA? You used to work at FDA with us. And then your joke. Take it away.
Definitely, yeah. So, kind of give a quick, I guess, background recap. So, yeah, definitely worked with you guys at FDA. It was great. Just like how we all kind of go back to those great memories. Still, FDA is still like a family, right? We still kind of talk to all the folks, whether there's the former or current. So that network's been great. So, it was FDA for 8 years in the orthopedics group. Left as a team lead. Transitioned to industry at Stryker. So, was there about for 4 years as a regulatory leader. Then moved on to Hogan Lovells, where I did consulting for 3.5 years. And then currently I'm at MDIC Nest, where I work on real-world evidence and kind of having industry and FDA as a stakeholder to move forward and progress real-world evidence on both sides.
All right, so we can't talk trash about FDA today. Not that we ever do. This is a very pro-FDA.
well, that's
Podcast.
some side eyes, but usually we're pro FDA as the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we sympathize and empathize
Yeah.
with them too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think because you're in the building, I'm gonna have and we're both streaming. We're probably gonna end up with some lag on. You stopped for a millisecond in there. So anyway,
Nice.
my internet sucks. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, your joke, sir, please.
Yeah, I got some jokes. So let's see. There's 2. The first one is, what did the femur say to the patella?
What's that?
I need you.
That you know what? I thought I had the title for the lamest joke. That might be it.
And then I have
like
a joke that my nephew. I have a joke that my nephew loves to tell, so we have to kind of level set with that. It's a kid joke, but what do cows do on a Friday night?
I have a guess, but I'm going to let you tell it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, you say.
Okay, fine.
I don't know.
Yeah, they go to the movies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Kid joke, so.
Kid jokes.
I was thinking like dancing or something,
Yeah.
you know.
Ah. I don't know if you guys have it. I've got the Barnyard Dance book downstairs, which definitely has some cows dancing in it. Yeah.
I do love that book. All right, Nilo.
All right. So when you go, the doctor asks, which do you want first, the good news or the bad news, Allison?
Good dude.
The good news is you're about to have a disease named after you. That's just that's just it. That's just the whole thing. And that actually comes from, like, I was watching a TV show, and that was the whole thing. And I was like, well, what's the bad news? I'm like, well, you're the only one with it. They never got to that part. It's just like a terrible thing. The other one from that same dumb show I was watching that I thought was, it tickled my thing was, does an apple a day really keep the doctor away? Yes, but only if you have really good aim.
See? I will say animal jokes usually are the big winners on this non-podcast, but I had also a doctor one today. So what did the doctor tell the man who was panicking because he thought he was shrinking?
What's that?
He said, you're going to have to be a little patient.
Pretty good.
That's my favorite one of today.
All right, let's get into it. What's some new stuff? You guys want me to just dive into the De Novo and PMA, or do you have some other stuff you want to talk about? I know we're going to talk about the down class list.
The only other thing, let's start with the De Novo and the PMA first.
Okay, so the De Novo that came out, and I think it was out last week, but we didn't talk about it, was Delivery Date AI by Ultrasound AI. And this is a De Novo that was submitted in early 2025, so it's like about a little less than a year. And I couldn't find much out about it because they haven't put the decision summary and all the information about, or maybe they have today. It wasn't up yesterday. But supposedly it helps to predict or identify like when the delivery date of the baby is going to happen. And so some folks might be like, well, why is that actually important? And it's, well, when you think about how many babies are born preterm, it's really good to have an idea of like how far along are they, and I'm assuming that it would be a really good thing to know like if there needs to be additional care or attention to the baby that's born. So anyway, that was cool. And then the Allurion Gastric Balloon System, which is a new PMA, also submitted in 2025. It is indicated to promote short-term limited weight loss in adult individuals with obesity. I think it was for morbid obesity between 22 years and 65 years with a BMI greater than or equal to 30 kilograms per meter squared. That's anyway, or less than or equal to 40 who have had at least one unsuccessful attempt at a weight loss program. So you place, I think it's like you swallow this thing and it expands in your stomach, and it's placed during like a 10-month period.
Interesting.
So yeah,
this one was interesting to me, and I didn't have time before this podcast, but I thought that there were kind of gastric fillers that were class 2 devices. So I was surprised to see that this was a class 3, but maybe I was misremembering there. It's also interesting with just how much that this was an effort with how much success the GLP-1 drugs are having. You know, they're everywhere, and so I wonder how much. You know, if this was an unfortunate, we didn't see that coming kind of device, but
maybe. But it's good to have options, you know, especially if I'm assuming GLP-1s don't work for everybody. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to find a way to make them work for everyone. That's that and
Right.
AI.
That's what it.
That's-
Yeah. Right.
I think they when you leave the doctor's office now, they just give you sample packs and say maybe this will help you, even if you don't need it.
Try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent my sister's an OBGYN, so I sent her that the De Novo this morning. I was like, "Hey, have you heard of this? Have you seen it?" So it's pretty new to her. I mean, obviously they're not marketing it, but just even kind of the concept of it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I sort of wonder, like, and I've had this happen with De Novos where you're waiting on a decision. Like, you know it's coming, right? Like, FDA, it's pretty clear if you're about to get an unfavorable decision or you're about to get a favorable decision. And so but FDA historically has just been like, and it's granted. And they'll just, like, they put that granting, because I think it's automated in their system. Like, it just gets published in the database. And I think for one that I worked on a while back, like, FDA wrote a press release and, like, said, yay, we did this thing, right? And the company was like, oh my gosh, like, our investors don't know about this, like, that we got the granting, like, we had everything kind of, ready to go, but FDA totally scooped us. Like, it was like that jerk on the, that's like, first, it's like, and I get to announce it. But anyway, so you see these things come out and you're like, wow, I haven't seen any press about this yet. So maybe we're being those jerks by being like, we're going to talk about how amazing this is. But yeah, there's nothing else that I've seen pop up. I have, I wanted to note that we're like pretty myopic with PMAs and De Novos in this show. However, there's a lot of 510Ks that come out too. Like, those are the workhorse, right? And I think there were over 50 in the last week since we've last talked. Like, so I don't want to like ignore those. So I'm going to try and start finding some cool ones, or if you guys hear of anything, or if you've worked on ones, Milo, like, we could talk about those too in the future.
Yeah,
just an idea.
No, I think I make sure I pipe up my companies that if we get a good 510K clearance on here, but none this week. But I will say one of the things that on the delivery date AI one, there are some interesting, like, hormone type trackers that help do this that are oddly not regulated. They fall into a weird space. Actually, someone that Nick Warner, last week's guest, and I graduated with from Pitt, won, like, the Entrepreneur of the Year in San Francisco because she started her own company called Mira, and it does a lot of fertility tracking and hormone tracking. It's a really cool system for, like, also perimenopause and stuff like that. It's a whole kind of fits into that wellness, track your own health kind of system, but it has some of that. So it's always interesting in those, I think, women's health and different areas, just kind of that wellness space right now also operates in a weird gray area of, like, is this medically necessary, or is this kind of tracking, is this a medical device, or is this just tracking your own health kind of thing, and whether or not how the FDA treats it. And I feel like that's changing a bunch.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Like, I've definitely worked on some of those devices when I was in the consulting world. And you're right, a lot of those values that you grab are all, class 1 exempt, and you just can pull from them, which are kind of surprising for being a diagnostic. And then you have these kind of AI tech companies, femtech companies that come by that can, grab that data and kind of do stuff with it to figure out these endpoints. So it's a very interesting, evolving space.
On the space, on the digital health side, I think one of the news Alice and I were talking about right before we jumped on live was the new digital health center kind of lead is what's his name, Rick Abramson, which was I think he came from, like, Harrison.ai or something like that.
Yeah, Harrison.
Which,
yeah.
Again, we started off this thing saying we don't like to criticize the FDA too much, but this is like kind of a bad optics move, I think, because I think Harrison.ai has, like, active appeals going on with the agency, and they kind of grab one of their, although it's not too much, it's the flip side of what normally happens, which is the FDA person leaves the FDA and goes to work for the company. This is the opposite way, but it does seem it's an interesting optics move in the kind of, light of everything going on, of all these changes. But I'm not generally against the idea of having industry people come help, because I think that's often, things I think all of us learned leaving the FDA, it's like, the concerns of a company and post the FDA clearance are like way different than you realize when you're a reviewer. But so it's good to have that kind of view. But it's interesting to have someone jump right into a leadership position when there's active, like, kind of appeals process and different things going on with the former company. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, there's some big changes coming up. I mean, I think also watching the congressional meeting for like Casey Means and for Surgeon General, and just some of there's a lot of discussion about that online, of course, right? There's a lot of stuff about people's opinions about her and taking on that role. I'm not going to get into it because it's not necessarily FDA, but it is pretty big for public health, I think, in the U.S. So I think there's a lot of folks at FDA, too, that are looking at that going like, let's see what happens.
It's an interesting choice. And I think it's what we can do, what we can say.
Yeah. Let's talk about, so my best friend CDRH New had a bunch of updates this week. And then, so there were a few, interestingly, they reissued an emergency use authorization for the Visby Medical Respiratory Health Test. There was another monkeypox emergency use authorization. And they did an emergency use authorization for the CDC human influenza virus real-time RT-PCR diagnostic panel influenza assay.
What?
So there was a lot of stuff that came out, on the 24th. That was like yesterday. No,
is the respiratory one for like an RSV test? Like, why are they doing EUAs for these things at this point? Like, we're not in a, we're not in a declared public health emergency, because that's usually how EUAs.
I think there always is, though, for like monkeypox and for Ebola. Like, those still exist.
Influenza?
And probably.
Interesting.
It says updated EUA. Maybe, let's open this.
Maybe it's an update
like, we've now decided this is no longer. They have EUAs for COVID still. They have EUAs for monkeypox, Zika. Who would know a lot about this is probably Allison Kumar, because she worked in this space, right, for the emergency use authorizations. Those, as I said, 2 weeks ago, I love CDRH New. It's so nice to see some of these things coming out again. They also listed a bunch of the recalls. So there was an insufflation unit recall for Olympus. There was recall for Boston Scientific's Axio stents and electrocautery enhanced delivery system, and there was also a software correction for the Fresenius Kabi issues correction for Invenix large. Anyway, don't know how to say that. And then there was an early alert, that's the one I kind of want to end on, because it was for the heart pump purge cassette issue from Abiomed, and I think FDA's been really trying to, like, if there's some sort of early sign that there might be an issue, like before it gets to a recall or before it gets to, like, escalates too far, they've been trying to put these early alerts out, which I think are good.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good thing. So
it's an interesting push after kind of getting rid of a lot of the communications department there, but I think it's valuable, so it's good that they're able to be, still on top of it.
It's a great snapshot, right? I mean, you definitely get that download of what you need and what's really active and kind of hitting FDA.
Yeah. I wish, if I could push for one email getting into your inbox, even for just lay people, it would be nice. Like, just sign up for CDRH New if you're, interested in medtech or devices, because I do think it's one of those things, even if it's for, I don't know, they had ones for food and recalls. There was one, I remember getting it years ago, and it was there was a recall for a spinach or something. And I was like, that's the spinach in our fridge. And of course, I don't hear about all those recalls and stuff, if I'm just listening to the news. But because that went into my inbox, I was like, oh, now I know. Now I know to throw that away. The other one that came up just in the press announcements, they don't have as many of those, but the press announcements from FDA was FDA launches the framework for accelerating development of individualized therapies for ultra-rare diseases. And yeah, I find it sort of, there's different like messaging coming out of the agency right now. Like sometimes they're like, nope, we're gonna shut that piece down, but then they're like, actually, here's a new framework for accelerating these things. Anyway, I'll put the link as well into the chat later. Anyway, I feel like that's good. We always want to like any sort of rare disease. Yeah, like I would like if you're that person, like as you just said, Nilo, in your joke, like you don't want a disease named after you, and so if there is, you would hope that people are researching it and trying to get something like to help treat you.
And I think I do think that that's where the FDA talks a lot about benefit risk type stuff and how to make those arguments. I think those rare diseases, especially if they're dangerous rare diseases, that's where they really come into play. Is like, well, what's the potential risk compared to just living with this disease? We got to try something. And so kind of accelerating those programs is always, I always like to see FDA trying. And I think we've talked about this before, but Jessica Paulson was always, I don't think she's still at the agency, unfortunately, but she was always really good at, call it an application engineer, of taking kind of existing policies and framework and repackaging them into, hey, we're not changing any of the rules, but we can use it for this specific purpose now, and kind of making that a bigger program. And I always felt like she was on top of doing that for a couple of different things back at the agency, and that this program kind of seems to be one of those things, because there's always been accelerated programs and orphan device designations and access programs for the FDA. This is, I don't think it's super new, but like focusing it on certain things and publicizing it so more people use it is always good.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen like the med device space for oncology. FDA's had some grace, right, where they're willing to allow some pull, right, when industries push. So hopefully that is kind of applied here too, right, with this product area.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to do a quick touch on the
down class?
What is it? Reclassification?
Yeah. So
we couldn't talk about it last week because we were like, we don't know anything about it.
So shout out! I finally found it in our Slack channel. It was Alan Chen. So shout out Alan if you're on here for actually sharing the list of devices that were being in kind of the link to the Federal Register, and I put it in our chat, Allison, or our list for here, so you can share the link later. But
the links later.
There was a couple, interesting ones on this list. I'll kind of quickly go through all of them, but one for these are devices that are currently Class 2, require 510Ks that they're kind of wanting to downclassify or remove the 510K requirement from them. Blood pressure cuff, which has been a hot topic for the cuffless stuff and the wearables. So interesting that this comes in line with it. Porcelain teeth and porcelain powder for teeth in the dental space, which is, I think, probably makes sense. There's probably not a lot of people making teeth out of porcelain anymore anyway. The fiber optic flashlights for endoscopes, jelly and lubricating gel for transuretal surgical instruments, so basically the lube for Foley catheters and any other cytoscope type stuff. Alarm in electrosurgical, which seems like a thing you might want to have in electrosurgical equipment, is the alarm system, but maybe I'm mischaracterizing that. Laparoscopic accessories specific to esophageal sizing. Sizing devices in general have had some down classification in other areas as well, so that might be just an extension. There's some dental barriers and sleeves. There's forceps for surgical and urogyne are up for potential reclass. Ophthalmic preamplifiers, both AC and battery powered, and then manual instruments designed for use with total disc replacement, manual instruments designed for non-fusion spinous process and spacer devices. And I would say, this is still out for comment on the Federal Register. I don't think this is guaranteed that all of this will be downclassified or remove that kind of pre-market regulatory requirement, but some probably will. And I don't know, maybe Jemin, you worked, in the orthopedics and spine, I guess both of you guys did, space, the instruments around total disc replacement and non-fusion spines process. I've seen those surgeries; they are intense. So how do you guys feel about not reviewing them?
I think a lot of it kind of follows suit with a lot of the other instruments in orthopedics, right? It's just really that how general and specific it is, because especially for arthroplasty, there's so many instruments and instrument sets, and companies really try to classify them as class 1 if possible in their submission reviews. And sometimes, depending on the reviewer you get or the system, or depending on how long back it goes, you could have two different companies, same instruments, and one company might have them as class 1, the other one as class 2, right? So I think it does help as long as the company's following good controls, right? They're kind of having their safeguards in place, and these instruments modify. So if companies need a way to change them, I feel like not having them as class 2 could help. But once again, it's also the safety and risk profile too, right? How now that you're kind of opening the floodgates, how much are they going to deviate from what they were usually able to do?
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's good. Actually, I just spoke at Pitt last night. That was something that we talked about, was that if there are kind of two different, you find yourself potentially falling into two different buckets as like a startup, making sure to do your regulatory intelligence and seeing go use the UDI website or something to see what the bigger companies classify those similar devices as, because you don't want to set yourself up for the need to do a 510K as a small company if Stryker's out there calling everything class 1 already and had found a better path. So that was something we just talked about. So it sounds like that kind of cleans up, makes it easier for people.
Mm-hmm. Good regulatory precedence, yeah. Yeah, the UDI site's great for that when you're kind of searching for what are other people doing. Especially when you're in that, like you're saying, am I class 1, am I class 2, where does it fall under it?
I went down a rabbit hole. I've never heard of an ophthalmic preamplifier.
I just assumed I was going to ask Lee Cram.
I know, Lee would know. It amplifies electrical signals from the eye, and it's to record retinal action currents and muscle activity. Fascinating.
So is it?
But yeah, a lot of the ophthalmic like reading devices, those are there are a lot that are class 1 until it actually does something that might be for neurological purposes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really interesting. I agree with what Jemin said about the manual instruments for spine devices and that. I feel like if you're making those, it's very unlikely that you are not making the other component, the actual disc replacement devices. So hopefully, there could be people that are this is just going to be the thing that we make, or it's going to be OEM and we're going to sell it to spine companies. But hopefully there's a control in place.
Or I'm also wondering too, how many kind of supplements or 510K, modification 510K is FDA saying too, right? And so maybe to help with their workload with that.
Yeah. I always wonder, what are the ones that, what are a bunch of submissions and they're just oh my gosh, we're so tired of these. Yeah. These are so basic, and I guess that, here's just an idea. The other benefit to some of these devices staying class 2 is that if it does become a very easy way to review, or if they're very easy to review and really easy to crank through, does that help the Medufa goals? Hey, look how fast we were able to get some of these things cleared.
Yeah.
I know a lot of companies are we don't want to essentially be doing a 510K for all of these, so there must be sort of a benefit or cost benefit that FDA looks at this and is it's the cake's not worth the bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'd be hard to have a performance pathway for this too, right? Because for plates and screws, it's easy because you can have the dimensions. With instruments, it's such a wide net, right? So I guess you don't have that option to have a performance pathway for it.
I think you're probably right too on there's another code or regulation that captures it sometimes too, and they want to make it consistent, because I looked up the system alarm for the electrosurgical thing, and there's only one 510K under that product code. So there's clearly somewhere else. But I don't even remember. I had it up earlier.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, it was old, right? So it's Here, I had it's right here. It was from 1984. So, like, clearly people are, whatever system, you know, it's probably part of the laparoscopic, or like kits that have, it's not just the alarm, doesn't need its own separate 510K. So, like, they probably just went, pass it around. So,
well, that's all I got.
Yeah,
I
I've kind of
think
seen
the
a lot
only
of
thing
that,
we're going to
too.
mention is the CDS town hall, right? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jemin.
I've kind of seen that when I was talking about the kitting, right? Like, where sometimes you have a specific product code just for the kit, and then you see who sells it, and it's a manufacturer, right? So there's other people that are trying to get into it, and you're like, probably can't do it without being the manufacturer, right?
Yeah.
Just given the way it's set up.
makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah, and I was looking at the ones that were actually down classified from class 3 to class 2. I put that in the chat. It was all the Hep B virus assays from last year. Those all went from class 3 to class 2. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
Good.
All right. I know you got to jump, Nilo.
I do.
And I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
This was a short and sweet one. Jemin, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Definitely. Just wanted to kind of give a plug for our MDIC summit coming up in May. So if folks are interested, I'll send you all the link. So please attend. We always have industry, FDA, data partners attend. So it's just a great way to learn more about real-world evidence and seeing how FDA, industry, and these data partners are advancing that field.
Is it in person?
It's in person. Yep, it's in College Park, Maryland.
Perfect. It's a good way for it. I need an excuse to come to DC.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday. I was like, we're gonna go.
Roadshow.
And I'll stay with Jemin.
There you go.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Till next
Yeah.
week.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to you later.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.